Hello, and welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.fun.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
I'm Tom Taylor from IamTomTaylor.com.
And I'm John Ingle from the ABC Devo podcast.
Nice.
Welcome back, fellas.
It's all my podcasts. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Yeah, you just make something up.
See.
Well, once again, I got to give a shout out to our friend Joe Maisel, who cannot be here because he's been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Zor and the Kodan Armada. So
You could not be prouder of him.
That's a valid out, but
We're all behind
Thank
you,
you
Joe.
for your service, Joe.
yeah.
Do us proud.
But today, the rest of us are going to talk about minute 104 of Star Trek. Nope.
Oh,
Star Wars.
Don't do that.
Episode 9.
Can we talk about Star
Is it?
Trek? Just
The Rise of
Deep
Skywalker.
Space Nine?
Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, The Rise of Skywalker. How does that work? Let's find out. Minute 104 starts with, just like me in 1994, Finn saying, "Towers up ahead." And
94.
it ends with Rey turning to acknowledge the stadium crowd.
The stadium crowd.
The stadium crowd. They're all chanting, USA, USA.
What is the attendance? Do we have a sellout here, right?
Yeah.
It seems
Like a whole
like
bunch
it,
of
yeah.
sellouts.
Sellout. What's standing room? Maybe standing room only even. What do we think the attendance of, what's the capacity of the Sith
Is
arena?
it tickets sold, or is it, actual, Sith butts in the seats? Because I think, there could be some people just day of, they're like, oh, right, yeah, the whole granddaughter thing is happening today. I was going to go to that.
They've been waiting for this. This is the biggest. This is like Game 7.
The parking is a nightmare with
Yeah.
those thousands of Star Destroyers out there. You got to walk the whole way across the thing. Forget it.
Oh, and what they charge for parking.
Right.
Fair.
Insane.
I parked in the Plagueis lot. I don't know. I got to take a shuttle of some sort
Remember
over
the
to
Plagueis lot?
Plagueis Blue.
Wait, but my battery's dead. I parked in the Plagueis lot. That's not supposed to happen. Sorry, that was a reach. Sorry.
But so let's start with the Rey. Let's start with Finn finishing towers up ahead. That's really just like a second of that, right? It's just like, oh, there's towers up ahead. Like they're like, that's Star Destroyer. There's the tower that we're the new target. Here we go.
That's the one we can't shoot from a spaceship. We have to be
Sorry,
on
not target,
on the
tower.
ground. Yeah.
Different place to buy records.
Do all Star Destroyers have these towers on them? Is this like a standard issue thing? Or is this just because it's the command ship that it has?
You think it's an aftermarket?
That would have been
antenna?
interesting if they kept passing it from ship to ship.
That's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah, you did say that. That was my idea.
Why wouldn't they have that? Why wouldn't they just do this? It's weird.
Well, this whole thing is so contrived. They can't turn on their shields until after they get out of the atmosphere. So it's such a weird, contrivance to kind of come up with a dramatic thing.
Yeah.
But they got to do something. They can't. At least it's not another Death Star. Let's put it that way. So
Right.
You're never going to beat the Death
Let's be
Star.
thankful for that.
It's just 1,000 of them, but they look like Star Destroyers. That's all.
Right.
It's still kind of the same idea.
It's really neat, JJ. Don't worry. We all love you. It's really, really cool.
For the viewers at home, the listeners and the viewers at home, they should know I clocked it. This minute, 55 seconds of Rey walking around blue, cloudy caves, not speaking. So that's why we're kind of at a loss for what to talk about.
There's one thing I wanted to point out. So she's walking, and then they cut to this wide angle, and she's standing in front of the throne, right? Mm-hmm. But when they kind of zoom in, and at one point there's these little spiky things coming off of it, and she's there in the background of it, looking up at it, and I just wanted her to drop to her knees and be like, "Damn you!"
Yeah,
Damn you straight down, because it looks a lot like the Statue of Liberty in Planet of the Apes.
It does.
Just that's my literal only note for this entire minute.
Well, do you think it was intentional?
I don't know. It kind of looks. It's like, how could you not know? Like, even if it wasn't intentional, they saw it in the dailies, or they saw it while they were in the editing bay, and they're like, "Oh man, this looks like Planet of the Apes."
T-shirts of that.
That's fun.
Well,
something to talk about on a podcast someday.
this is something that does bug me about this, because it does it sets it up like that because it seems like it's going to be a reveal, and then the reveal is that it's like the Sith throne, and we heard her talk about that she had a vision that she was on the Sith throne, but we never really saw it, right? This is the first time that we're seeing this, right? Am I correct
Did
here?
it not show like in a quick flash or something back when she was having
I
all
don't
that?
think so.
Yeah.
But
Seems
so
like
it seems like it's, the way she talked about it, and then we get this reveal of like, oh, it's the Sith throne from my vision, but she never, we didn't see it. And granted, I don't have to see everything that they talk about, but for the way that they set this up visually is just like, oh yeah, that's that thing from her vision, which you didn't see because,
and also we
saw
be
lots of
out
other
a little more
crazy
about
things.
That. If she is seeing in real life a vision that she had that freaked her out, she should be a little more upset right now.
She should be, wait a minute, I had a dream about that chair.
And that must be some kind of Jedi magician or something.
I kind of feel like she's
Holy
already
smokes.
resigned to all of this being basically what she dreamt. I mean, I think that's what she's there. Sort of like Luke, much like Luke in the tree and cutting off Darth Vader's head. And then later it's like, okay, I've kind of already practiced this. I already saw this once, like me confronting Vader. So I think it's similar to that in that
That's
way.
what the audience is saying. Oh, sorry.
I mean, we're all assuming that the Force is basically guiding her where to go, right? Like kind of like a find my
sense my Sith. But we got
she's just got a gut feeling.
Keep talking about sense my Sith, but I think she's just kind of doing the
Palpatine
same
has a
thing.
giant magnet which is slowly pulling her in the right direction. Do you think the Sith I know the Sith are evil, or from my point of view, the Jedi are evil, but do the Sith like living in dark, creepy, wet, do they thrive in this kind of environment? Or are they I want to join this cult so I can live in a cave with a bunch of do they not like comfort and riches and they don't seem to be getting any of the benefits of getting to run the galaxy, really.
You'd think they'd be more hedonistic.
Yeah.
It's like if you're going to go all out and you have no moral compass at all, why not be hedonistic? Why not eat as much as you can and have orgies?
Let the record show
made
that Alex is wondering why these people chose to live in a dark place where it rains storms all the time, and he lives in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, and he's the evilest.
Fair enough. Touche, love Pussycat.
You might be able to tell if you're watching this by the lighting schemes of each of our squares. I kind of like it dark too. I actually had to turn on a light just to make my office a little bit more lit, and I keep my blackout curtains closed for the most part, and I kind of like it that way. But I should be living in Portland, honestly. But so I kind of get it now. The wet, damp, the dripping water all over the place, and the stony surfaces and stuff. That's not so appealing, but it seems the
darkness.
Are you talking about Exegol or
Portland?
I
like the darkness.
Okay.
Yeah,
either one.
All right.
They're both the same.
It is sort of I think about this all the time. Like with the Emperor, he spent
all the time.
I think about the Emperor.
Oh, good thing we had you on.
It's all part of my plan.
Oh man, maybe I'm
a little obsessed with Star Wars. No, but when I'm watching things like this, he spends his entire life trying to control the galaxy. And you can say this about anything, any Shakespeare play or anything. But what is his end? What does he actually want? What does he? If this succeeded and Rey kills him and stuff, whatever, he becomes all powerful, whatever his plan is, and then he rules the galaxy. What again? Is he just going to live in a cave and he has a T-shirt that says I spent my entire life destroying the galaxy and taking it over, and all I got was this lousy shirt in a cave?
I mean, that's kind of the question about these uber villains, right?
They're just so corrupt through trying to do that.
We know
they're
unlimited.
Well, what he wants is ultimate power, right?
Unlimited.
To get unlimited, thank you. That's the correct word. To get to that, you pretty much have to alienate every person. Basically, that's how you get there, right?
Yeah.
They clearly don't care about. They're just satisfied in the power, or the story really is that once they get there, they realize that they have nothing, right? Or whatever the ironic ending would be. I mean, I just don't think they put that much thought into Star Wars in that sense. I don't think there was going to be, how Infinity War ends with Thanos sitting on the porch and he's just like, oh, well, I guess I'm here now. And you kind of go well, he's got peace, but is he satisfied? Is he lonely? Whatever it may be. There's a little bit more thought put into that. And he's a little bit more of a fleshed out character than the Emperor in a lot of ways. But the Emperor's just evil. That's it.
Yeah.
There's just
Yeah, it's
nothing
like the
else to
Wicked
think
Witch of the
about.
West.
They really don't have any
have you seen Wicked?
nuance.
Although the
Now,
Wicked Witch of the
Wicked's
West did
gonna
have more motivation. She wanted the slippers, so for magic. So that's a good
And a little
motivation.
revenge for a family member that
Yeah.
got taken out too.
She's got lots of classic motivation.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have worked if they had just been like, oh, guess what? It worked. You took over the galaxy, but then just left him there and not told him. They just like, we'll call you with updates, and then just like just kept going about there. But every once in a while he would call. They'd be like, oh yeah, things are very evil here. Yeah.
Yes.
No, yeah.
Everybody's really upset.
None of these planets have any autonomy whatsoever.
No, yeah,
It's
they're all very
under
oppressed.
your thumb.
Yeah.
Part of your
all right.
plan,
We'll
just
talk
like
to you next
always.
week,
You only get
Sheev.
3
Okay,
channels.
thanks.
Yeah.
And then,
Like the senile grandfather.
Yeah.
Just like, give me the clicker, Grandpa. Give me the clicker. Yes.
I think definitely think we should have played that trick on him.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not too late. Actually, it is.
So I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you have anything?
Well,
were you gonna say something about the minute?
I mean,
I had
we're
something
joking
about
about the fans and the stands and everything, but I'm kind of dead serious. Like, who are these people?
Who are these
Who are
people?
these Sith people? But like, I mean, I literally like
Teed
I
that
can't.
one right up.
I can't. It's so dark and so flickery that I actually cannot tell if the movie is telling me that it's like a vision, like these are spirits of things that are there, rooting on the Emperor or whatever.
Yeah, like ghosts.
Like ghosts,
Yeah.
or are they like? Is the place actually filled with evil people who are just sitting in the stands watching this, watching a girl walk around and look at a chair? Actually, I literally don't know. I want you guys to tell me.
I think
Yeah, I
they're
don't
just
know.
they're just parishioners.
Yeah.
They're basically like
All right,
the disciples. they're church going.
but they are there. They're actually like there in
Kind
the
of,
in the place.
I think they're all, yeah.
All right.
There's no reason to think they're not, but there's reasons to think that they shouldn't be and that they couldn't possibly
Yeah, that's
be.
different.
But there's no reason.
But it's so
Considering they're
funny.
sitting
Like,
there,
wouldn't the crowd be like so excited on the edge of their seat that Sheev's plan was like, Rey is finally here?
Yeah.
They'd be going nuts. The crowd would be like blowing up with
That's what I want to
like
see.
cheering and stuff. But they're like, ooh, chichikaku. They're just doing like evil, spooky noises.
Their version of
No, I want to
to
see like
scare 'em.
signs. I want them to hold up signs
yeah.
and stuff.
They shall be blowing those.
Travel all the way from Tatooine
Yeah.
to watch the.
I'm proposing to
all
my
be
girlfriend.
brand
in the
new.
Emperor.
Vuvuzelas,
wave.
like
One wave wouldn't
Ray. They're like taunting her.
I really do think Sith would be lame enough to actually do the wave too. I think that.
Oh,
would
yeah.
be,
Yeah.
Rise when the wave comes to you.
You would rise.
Now sit back down.
In sequential order.
Send it back! Send it back!
10 minutes rise
Who
again.
brought the beach ball to this? Oh, so obnoxious.
There'd just be a black
Yeah.
beach ball.
Half deflated.
You can't really see it, or it's a Death Star. I mean, that's really
Oh, yeah,
what
Death Star
it would be.
beach
It's a
ball.
big Death
Oh,
Star.
yeah, totally.
That's again another Lego. There's no way that's not happening in a Lego Star Wars. Like if this scene, I don't think they've done. Have they done this? I think I've seen all the Lego Star Wars. I don't remember them doing this scene in Lego.
Yes,
Maybe
there's
they
some.
did.
There's some weird.
Tom,
in
did
the
you
holiday
get to this
special
part?
thing.
No, they did there was a series because they did Droid Tales, which covered the original series and the prequels, and then they did one. There was like I think there was one for the Force Awakens, but I don't know if they did. I don't know if they kept going. There was one where it was like a different called something else, but they did basically a summary of the Force Awakens, but I don't think they did the other two.
Well,
so
they
they
did
definitely
the
should.
holiday special. Right, was time traveling around to all the different
Right, yeah.
movies.
That
And I
takes
feel
was
like
after all
they
this
might have
happened, but I don't think
I
they went
don't know.
here.
I don't remember. To be honest, Archer watches those, and I kind of check in while I'm looking at my phone. I mean, I enjoy them okay, but I'm not like I'm like, oh, I got a text. I'm going to pay attention to that now. So I might have missed something.
I saw a note for a previous minute that I forgot to include. It's actually kind of interesting. It's a continuity error, a rare continuity error in the scene
The
where the
stormtrooper hits his
horses
head as he's coming in the door.
they're about to go out on the Star Destroyer and start running. Rose is in the ship, but that's clearly not. That can't be right,
I think
right?
that
She
is
shows
right.
up later.
I think she's
yeah,
she's on that lander
No.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
we see her in the next
yeah,
minute.
it's weird.
In the next minute,
Right,
she's
but that's
running
weird,
like holding
right?
the blaster. Like, yeah, it makes sense to me. Everybody's in BB-8. Everybody. It's
That's
the rubber
true.
has hit the road. Everybody has to jump. All hands on deck.
Did they leave
Literally,
anyone
all
back? They
hands
have to
are
leave
on deck.
someone back at the
What's
planet. They have to leave someone back there to watch all the stuff and everything.
They left Leia's
what's her
corpse
name?
back there, I'm sure.
Oh,
Everybody just like left. Maz, was Maz there? And Maz like just sitting there
No,
with the
Maz
corpse,
isn't
like
here.
doing the
Maz
crossword.
is back there.
we don't see Maz isn't in the battle.
No.
I don't think
he's
so.
like-
I don't know.
I think
It's a
don't
story
you
for
only
another
see her
time.
like in that one scene in the whole movie?
It's like one or two.
Yeah, when Leia
Yeah,
passes.
Maybe two.
She like
yeah.
tugs on somebody's sleeve and it's just like, Leia would have wanted it that way. Like, what?
How do you know?
And then like, that's it.
She told me to tell you. For some reason, she couldn't tell you herself. So I'll say it.
We couldn't find a proper file of dialogue to place there. So
Yeah, there's
I'll
only
say
so
it.
much you could say.
So you guys do a Star Trek podcast, correct?
That is
Or
correct.
I
did a
heard.
Star Trek
Us?
podcast?
Yeah, we
I guess
did.
I should say.
Did, will do.
So which is better, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, come on.
That's easy.
Didn't we do this before? I feel like we did this before.
I'll tell you, I've said this before. I find Memory Alpha much more satisfying to use than Wikipedia.
Yeah.
No offense
That's
to
your
our friends at
criteria.
Wikipedia, but like just whenever I'm looking for like for the type of research that I'm doing, I find Memory Alpha much more.
Is it the organization or the what's the big advantage?
The linking is more like I feel like on Wikipedia it'd be like the kind of thing where it's like Green Squadron, and I can't like when I click on Green Squadron, it tells me a little bit of a history of Green Squadron, but there's no like list of people that were in Green Squadron or like when their first appearance was. Whereas like in Memory Alpha, like all that stuff is in there. It tells me about like, oh, it was played by this person who was in an episode of Columbo with this person, and it like tells me extra.
Yeah.
Has a lot of extra little linky details which is the kind of research that I'm trying to do for this show. And so
Sure.
I have to do like extra steps from Wikipedia to get like a way to get out of into that kind of thing that I need. When like the Zed's gang here, like she doesn't there's like a link that like about what the gang, oh yeah, there's a bunch of ex-stormtroopers that were on the planet, they were on the moon, and then doesn't list them. And you have to go find them
God.
individually to be like, oh, at the battle of so and so. It's like, who was at the battle of so and so? Okay, these people. Okay, this person was there, and then you click on them, like, yep, they were part of the gang. Okay, like there's no like list of people who are in the gang for things like that, or like a
got
list
it.
of people when needs a little more group pages or whatever that is. And I know that's the idea is it's a wiki. Everybody's supposed to edit. I should just go in and edit it myself.
Yeah.
If you want
It's not
something
such
done
a
right.
bad idea. Come on, we don't need this.
I remember when I got my wife into Next Generation. She had never really watched Star Trek before, and I got her
not
into Next
Degrassi.
Generation, and I would mansplain all of like the difference between the Romulans and the Klingons and these different empires jockeying, and they get into different squabbles and power plays and stuff. And then we watched Star Wars, and she was like, "What does the Empire like want?" And I'm like, I don't know. He's
I
evil.
live
You
here.
know, like
Control.
after watching Star Trek, which is so, nuanced and has so much
Yeah.
stuff going on, to just go to this kind of cartoon world, which
Right.
is like, oh, he's a bad guy.
I was gonna say, like, I mean, I was kidding when I say it's easy. It's I love them both, but like, I came to Star Wars as a kid, and I love it like from that, and I still love it now. But like, I mostly love the stuff that I loved as a kid.
Mhm.
And then Star Trek, I came to like slightly older, like a snotty teenager, and so that seemed cooler
Scotty
and more
teenager.
adult to me in a way, and still sort of does in a way. Which is ridiculous to say to some people maybe, but and I feel like for me the ratio of good to bad Star Trek is greater than good to bad Star Wars. Is that possible? Like I think there are like 3 Star Wars movies that I adore. And out of how many, like 9 or 10 or something. But they're like 2 excellent entire series of Star Trek, and then maybe a third one. And I hear that a 4th one is really good, but I haven't watched it. And, I feel like there's...
Which ones are you talking about? Which ones are you?
The original series
Enterprise,
and Next
the
Generation.
animated
Those are
series.
both huge to me. I could not quite get into Deep Space Nine, but everyone, including John, tells me it's
Same.
great. Except for Pika shakes his head.
No, I agree. I couldn't really get into it either.
Yeah,
It's so good.
I think the ship may have sailed. I don't know if I'm going to circle back to that.
There's no ship. That's part of the problem.
The space station is
There,
not sailed.
there is a ship. It's called the Defiant.
Whatever. What season's that in?
Yeah.
And
I also like Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, it's probably great, but I think it's I think I've missed it. But and I'm enjoying
Great.
There's good and there's bad. I love I think the highs of Star Trek are higher than the highs of Star Wars for me. I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and say that that's not true, but right now that
No,
feels
you
right.
don't believe that, Tom.
I
I'm gonna
don't?
tell you right now, you don't believe.
Okay.
Do you? Okay, I was going to say. You see if you agree with me. Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back are better than any Star Trek to me. Like those two movies. There's no Star Trek that I like more than those two movies. So to me, the highs of Star Trek or Star Wars are higher than the highs of Star Trek.
You might be
right. There's more good Star Trek, but I'm not sure the batting average is right. I think Star Wars might still have it just because of a more limited. Like I think Andor is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I think 2 seasons of The Mandalorian are pretty amazing. So I feel like, in the lesser at bats, Star Wars has a higher batting average maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but really what it comes down to for me, I'll do the exact opposite of Pete's completely emotionless answer where he was just talking about wiki pages and stuff.
Purely
I'll get
in
really
terms of data.
sentimental. And I might have said this on the show before, I don't remember, but Star Wars is literally the first thing I remember. I don't remember anything before seeing Star Wars. And like when Carrie Fisher died, it was like a huge gut punch to me, and I tried to figure out why it was so much more even than other people, and I was like, she's like the first person I ever saw in a weird way. You know what I mean? Outside of my family, like it's
like you imprinted on her.
I was just gonna say that like it imprinted on me so early that it's just always gonna kind of be number one to me.
Okay, but that's interesting because
so much so. Yeah,
I had a much stronger emotional reaction to Leonard Nimoy dying than to Carrie Fisher dying. So what does that say about me?
Interesting. I had a very strong reaction to that too. But I don't know. It's like I'm way more forgiving of Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like prequels notwithstanding, which is an aesthetic thing. The prequels is not really. I like the stories of the prequels. Okay, it's Star Wars. It's fun. It's okay. You can kind of be dumb, like how dumb this movie that we're talking about is, and I'm still going to enjoy the movie. I really enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker, no matter how disjointed and dumb and kind of clumsy it is. I still enjoy it. Star Trek, though, I cannot stomach, Star Trek Nemesis or Insurrection. I just can't even stomach those, even though it's Star Trek.
But see, those are super stupid.
I watch those movies. I go, why not just watch an episode of Star Trek Next Generation? I'll just go do that instead.
Okay, here's a good point. Bad Star Trek, it annoys me and I want to get away from it. But bad Star Wars makes me really angry. Like bad Star Wars.
Because you have a deeper emotional connection to Star Wars, which means you ultimately like it more.
Or maybe I just like, Star Wars is more narrow for me. As I'm getting older, I'm realizing Star Wars for me is Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, and some friends battling Darth Vader's on a Star Destroyer or a Death Star or something. Like that's Star Wars. I don't need other people. I don't need backstories or forward stories. It's like basically 2, maybe 3 movies from the 80s and 70s. And anything that strays from that, I either don't need or makes me actively angry when it doesn't go well. And it kind of and it conflicts with my understanding of Star Wars.
On an iconographical level, would that be a word?
Sure.
The iconography of them. So I have like a special, like when I see R2-D2 in any form, I have a bunch of R2-D2s around my house because for some reason the image of R2-D2 like I get a serotonin like burst just seeing them, right?
Yeah.
I guess I kind of feel that same way about Spock, and I kind of feel that same way about the Enterprise.
The communicator,
but there's something special about R2-D2, and there's something special about the Millennium Falcon. I don't know, it's just different. I think just ultimately I'm a Star Wars guy, but I love them both. Like usually my answer to that question is I'm not going to answer that question. Like when people ask me, and I'm not sort of obligated to talk about something because I'm on a podcast, if people ask me that in the real world, I'm like, I'm not answering that question. I'm just not. Yeah. I don't want to take sides. So they're both my babies, and I don't want to say I like one more than the other. But I just did. So hopefully they're not listening. Star Wars and Star Trek. Hopefully you're not listening.
I mean, is it sheer volume that makes it easier to skip bad Star Trek?
Kind of, maybe. Yeah. And it's it's been happening over a longer period of time, and like your Deep Space Nine, you like missed a lot of stuff. Like I barely watched Voyager and everything, and some people love it, some people like, oh, Voyager, whatever. Like it glances off me more, and it's easier to ignore maybe. Whereas Star Wars is kind of like always happening and always happening kind of loudly, and you have no choice but to watch it.
Well, do you feel though like there was that time when it wasn't happening, and that might have also?
I miss those
like,
days. I gotta honestly say, I miss. Some people get
too.
mad at you when you say that, but I really do miss when Star Wars was a special kind of secret code, and if there was a reference to it in a movie, it blew your mind. You're like, oh my god, that guy is so smart. He just made a Star Wars reference.
I was
like
thinking about that.
Just has a Star Wars thing, and you're like, "Oh my god!" You point.
How'd they come up with that? They saw Star Wars.
Stick the tape in.
Like, because I was listening to Yoda, the Weird Al song with my kids, and it's like, well, this is like now it's just like everybody knows,
Right.
My in-laws go watch, they'll watch the show about Baby Yoda, but like, for it to be like a weird, like he's talking to me because like I know like these jokes are for me.
That's how I know Weird Al is cool.
Yeah.
But you see, I read every book. I read the books in the time when you could read all the books, like they were, there's just too many now. I would never even want to do it now.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Every Star Wars book. I've read a lot of Star Trek books too, but the Star Wars books, I was like, every time one came out, I immediately got it, and I'd take it to work with me, and I'd hide and read it, and all this kind of stuff. And to be honest, though, like I think it kind of, because some of those are so crappy, but I still enjoyed them on a level because it was just new Star Wars, that I kind of carry that over into these movies. Like this movie is the Rise of Skywalker to me is the ultimate crappy novel movie, Star Wars movie. It's dumb as can be, but I still like being with these guys. I still like the pew pew, and I still like the ship designs, and I still like, just the overall aesthetic of Star Wars. So to me, I think I kind of, during those dark ages and when the novels were all the new material you were getting, I think that kind of also informs how I absorb Star Wars or how I receive Star Wars. The prequels, though, I mean, it's tricky because I still don't like the prequels, but it's a little trickier. But maybe that was a sense of disappointment that still hangs with me. I don't know. Maybe I'd been more forgiving.
What about you,
at a different
Alex?
time, but anyway.
Do you have a strong opinion between the two?
Well, I guess, after listening to you guys talk, I guess I would say I love it. Ultimately, I would say I have to say Star Wars. I mean, I've been doing a podcast on Star Wars for 10 years. So, but also just like John said, I saw Star Wars when I was 6 years old. So it kind of got to me before I even had any critical facilities to be able to put things in like logical terms. So I think like once that happens, you're kind of like, it's, you can't change it really. You know what I mean? Like you're, so I like Star Trek on a brain level, and I love the characters, and especially Next Generation. That was my era. But I mean, my question wasn't which one do I like better. It was which one is better.
Oh, that's true.
So that's a tougher one to answer.
Yeah. I think we talked about this on ABCDTOS once, but like right now, phaser to your head. Would you rather watch Attack of the Clones or Star Trek V?
Star Trek V.
No, Star Trek V.
Star Trek V.
Easily.
All right.
But again,
we didn't need that phaser.
You're going to the lowest common denominators.
Well, I'm wanting to
saying,
see what.
Yeah.
I just don't think anything in Star Trek is close to the quality of Empire Strikes Back.
Star Trek 2.
So that's just no.
Star Trek the motion picture.
I love Star
on
Trek
levels?
too, but no, it's no.
Right.
So Empire Strikes Back
You're
is like
probably
one
right,
of those
but
perfect
I'm
movies
pushing.
to me. Really, really perfect.
Yeah. No, I'm
I mean, I love Star.
So,
Don't get
let me
me wrong,
ask-
I love Star Trek too, but I don't know. It's just not the same.
All right, let's change gears a little bit. Disney buys Paramount, and they're finally doing the Star Trek Star Wars crossover the fans were demanding to see. Which eras do you cross over?
Wow.
Do you do
Which
the
eras?
Enterprise crew? Do you do the Next Generation meets up with the prequels? Do you do
I feel like it has to do that way, right? Like original series, original trilogy,
Oh.
next gen prequels, and then like maybe like do you do like the JJ and the JJ, or do you do
God.
the like Do you do like
Oh my
Strange
God,
New
no.
Worlds? Strange New Worlds and Discovery meet.
Strange-
Well, I guess that would be the TV. You do the TV
Oh yeah, Strange New
Yeah.
Worlds meets the Mandalorian or something.
Andor
Andor.
and Strange New Worlds. That's a good. I'd take a sip of that.
Yeah.
I think that really the only way, so like being realistic about it, obviously this would be a really hard pill to swallow. This would be one of those things that would just drive everybody nuts immediately upon announcement, right?
Yeah.
But I think the only way it would really work is if it was original. Somehow you could do the original crew. I guess you're in this hypothetical,
Yeah, I mean-
everybody's still alive. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
we're doing an
No, it's-
animated series.
Yeah.
And I think the direction it would have
Computer-generated.
to go would be Trek to Star Wars. I don't think Star Wars could travel to Star Trek, right?
Right.
So because Trek has established accidental time travel and complete like galactic crossing over into other quadrants.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what
Yeah.
quadrant Star Wars is in. What quadrant is?
Well, they're different galaxies.
It's established
Yeah,
that there's
different
only
galaxy.
4 different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Although
So
if you
basically, what would
extend
happen
those
is the
lines
Enterprise would have to
infinitely-
Voyager. They would have to Voyager themselves into the Star Wars universe, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Spock
Yeah.
would have to be captain. We're being chased by a triangular ship, and it would basically be you just replace the Tana V4 with the Enterprise and do the exact same beginning as Star Wars,
Although
only with the
not-
Enterprise crew.
Not to spoil anything, but there is talk on the brand new Ahsoka show of intergalactic travel.
Right.
So who,
Yeah.
I assume
Right.
then that they're going to end up in the Federation, and madness will ensue.
That's always been like, again, I wish I could remember what that book was where the aliens invaded the Star Wars galaxy
Yeah.
after Return of the Jedi, and they were from another galaxy as well, if I remember correctly. So that's always been kind of there. You can just pull from that.
But see, that doesn't
and I
feel
remember,
like
didn't
Star
people
Wars
used to
to
say
me.
Yoda was actually from another galaxy too?
Oh.
I remember
People
people
say a lot
saying
of
that at
things.
one time, but maybe
People
yeah,
say Luke and
do,
Leia are brother and sister.
especially about Star Wars.
I don't buy it.
But to me, that's the only way you could do it. Trek has to come to Star Wars
Yeah.
and then deal with the Empire, and then Leia rescues them. So somebody has to come on the ship, and
I
be a
think-
part of the Enterprise crew that's from Star Wars.
I do
and
have
then-
an easier time
from
picturing the Next Generation crew being involved in all that for some reason. Maybe it's just because of Picard. I feel like Picard would be the one who would want to see interacting with these new space
I
weirdos.
think you'd have to do it narratively. You'd have to do a little flip where like the Enterprise somehow like they get somewhere and like the Klingons have aligned themselves with the rebellion somehow.
Oh,
And so they're like, oh, well, I guess like that, then like, or they get there and they get talked into, like they go talk to let me talk to your local authorities, and they talk to the Empire and they get kind of sweet talked. And so
man.
when it starts out, they're at odds. The rebellion is teamed up with the Klingons somehow, and the Federation is teamed up with the Empire, and then they realize that they're all wrong. And
And then
the
Thor shows
Ferengi
up.
would team up with the Tridarians for sure,
Mhm.
right? Aren't they the most akin?
they
to
like
each
point
other?
at each other like, only money. Hey.
Only Latinum.
Hey, look,
High five.
let me show you these articles of yeah.
And the Gorn
Anyway.
and Greedo, obviously. The Gorn and the Rhodians.
Oh, sure.
have-
Gorns and the Greedos.
have a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of good stuff.
Well, that's all I
this
have for
sounds-
minute 104.
Alex, this sounds like a cantina scene
Hmm.
with all these mixed up aliens.
Janus?
Or like a-
Sounds like something you could do,
Yeah.
Alex. That's your next assignment.
Like a party.
I'm game.
All
I
right.
want a lunchbox.
Okay. I thought you were just going to say, not going to do that. No, no.
Very
The,
good.
the bartender, it would be Guinan and Wooher, the bartender.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
As,
Or B. Arthur. You
bartenders
could get Acmina and
and the
Guinan.
Arthur.
C-3PO
Yeah.
and Data would be pals, right?
And instead of
Yeah,
blue
makes
milk, it's
sense.
green.
Yeah.
It's a deep cut.
Turquoise. It's like a
Anyway,
turquoise.
we could probably do that all night. Like, literally
I think
take
we should.
characters
And make
I'm game.
a cocktail of Romulan
Let's just
ale and
do it.
blue milk. It's like a
Yeah.
white Russian, but all right. That was
Blue
all for
Russian.
minute 104, in case you couldn't tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can you guys come back
Yeah.
tomorrow? One more episode. One more
Sure.
here.
I think I can.
So I got
I
one.
think I can.
Can I get a one?
I think I can do it.
All right. Everybody, please get on your feet for the Sith national anthem. No, everybody, please hang on tight. We'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, go find us on some social media. We have conversations like this over in our Discord, which you only have access to if you support us on Patreon. But If you can also find us on we're on the artist formerly known as Twitter, Star Wars Minute. We're on the Instagram as the Star Wars Minute, and that comes with a free threads with proof of purchase. So we're on there. Find us in places. We're out there, and we'll be back here tomorrow for a brand new Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.